It's Friday. Whiteboard review. Introduction to Computers and Information Systems. Today we talked about computing systems. We did not talk about data and information, so that'll be the first thing on Monday. Did a little bit of course review, and what the students need to do is we went through outlines, we looked at the timeline, and the due dates are in Canvas. So any of that information that you have questions on, you need to ask. Okay? And then we finished up the day in groups. They put some information into a Google Doc, and then on Monday we're going to take and they're going to share that with the other people in their group, and we'll talk a little bit about some fundamental things for word processing. Alright, so this was completing week 1, and it was day 2 of the week, because we didn't have class on Monday because of Martin Luther King. Alright, so this isn't the exact order that we covered things in class, but I'm going to do them in the order that I have the slides. We talk about computing systems. We have hardware, software, people, and networks. So we usually typically think of these 4 things. So let me talk just briefly about those. Hardware is all the equipment, and we've got some examples right here above. Software tells the hardware what to do. People build, really people build hardware, and they write software. Now we did talk here a little bit about user interface and user experience. A lot of why one piece of software is used over another, not only it's easy for the user to interact with it, but it also leaves the user with a good experience, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And we'll talk about this all year. And then the last big thing has to do with communications, networks, allowing these to communicate. Now, these 4 things we're going to talk a little bit about, I guess a little more in general, right up here. Okay, first of all, I have over here drawn this cloud. That's the internet over there, and NIAC has 2 connections going into the internet. We have a device here called a multi-layered switch that connects the main campus, and it connects over to the IT area. We have a firewall. Here, the main campus has a firewall also. And then we connect into a multi-layered switch in our area. This switch right here, we looked at it, that switch is actually in PC-229. That's actually in PC-229. And from that switch, we connect the computers in the room. 28 of them. Computers, we have processor. It does the work. We talked about the processors in the room, our Intel processors. We talked about memory, and we talked briefly about storage, hard drives in the computers, and connected to the computers we have some type of input, some type of display for output, and again they are connected to the switch. All of these things are hardware. And so the communications does this. It moves literally right like this, if we're going out to the internet or if we're going back to the main campus. Now, let's take a look at a picture over here where we're referring to the internet. And we draw it in a cloud. You don't know exactly what goes on in that cloud. And then some other clouds. So we talked about Google. We did a number of things with Google in class. We talked about the Google Data Center. There's one in Council Bluffs. And we also talked about Canvas. Now you notice the internet really acts as a connection to all of these websites. I don't know, maybe here is Facebook. Okay, maybe down here is, I don't know, something else. And then they all connect into the internet. So the information is not actually stored in the internet. It's stored in all of these locations connected to the internet. The internet is just like the interstate. It connects everything, but it's not actually the people and the towns and so forth. And how the internet works, basically we have a web browser that communicates to web servers. So we have web servers at Facebook, and this could be somebody at home, and then they have this connection. It goes through the internet to Facebook, then brings the information back. Alright, let's see then here in the big picture, from the room we can go out. Information literally travels like this, and we can go to Google. Information stored at Google in their data center. We can actually have multiple people looking at one document at one time. We can change that and adjust that. And what we look at it from over here is we're actually looking at it through our browser. And when we're doing work from the classroom, let's use another color. Let's say we're going to go to Canvas. We can leave here. It's the same thing. Go out. We can go to Canvas, do our work in the LMS, and it responds with the information back to our computer. And we see it on our display. So, we've talked about the outline, and you need to ask ASAP if you're not sure about the outline, but you should be filling it in, and you can find which sections we're going to cover on the timeline. So that's one thing that we're working on. And then in Canvas, you work through that through the modules. And then there will be work to do as you're working through Canvas. Alright, so that's it for the first week. We have 4 fundamental parts for computing, and these fundamental parts are whether you're talking about a PC, a smartphone, a tablet, and whatever. And we're going to talk more specifically about each of these this week. Actually, we'll cover all 3 of those more this week. Alright, that's it.